Welcome back, everyone. This is James from All Outdoors, and today I'll be having a look at two of the most popular small frame stub-nose revolvers available on the market today. We have the Ruger LCR on the left and the Smith Wesson J Frame on the right. In the case of the J Frame, it is a Smith Wesson 442 no-lock, and in the LCR it's just a standard LCR and 38 Special. These are both 38 Special guns, by the way. We're going with just the standard fare that you'll find at your local gun store. Of course, both guns are available in different calibers since both have been out for a while now, and they're very prolific, but we want to see which ones, or at least which one, might be better than the other, which one might have advantages and disadvantages if you're going to go looking for something like this. So we're going to be comparing them, and we're going to be shooting them a little bit, and you get to be around for the ride, so enjoy. Let's get a closer look at these guns. Okay, let's get a closer look at these particular guns. Now, the Smith Wesson J Frame has been out since 1950 and has been around in various configurations, from steel frame to lightweight aluminum frame to scandium frames in different calibers from 357 Magnum on down. Of course, the ubiquitous 38 Special version is what I have here, and this one is an airweight 442. It has an anodized aluminum frame, and it is hammerless. There's no external hammer for you to cock for a light trigger pull. The only way to fire the gun is double action, and you have fixed sights and a barrel that's 1 7/8 inch, and it is plus P rated for the higher pressure loads that you're apt to find today. And of course, you have your swing out cylinder. Go ahead and just press in on your cylinder release, pop the cylinder out. There's your 5-shot cylinder, and there's your ejector rod at work. You have a short little ejector rod, and you have to hit it in order to get those spent cases out. And this particular one is wearing a pair of Altamont grips. This particular model, in most J frames you're going to find now, come with little rubber grips, but those tend to interfere with the speed loader, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But fully loaded, the Smith & Wesson J Frame in this particular configuration is going at about 15 ounces, whereas the newer Ruger LCR is only a tiny bit, little bit lighter at about 14 ounces. So we're going weight-wise, they're pretty much identical, although the Ruger is a tiny bit lighter. But of course, we have to introduce the Ruger. Now, the Ruger LCR has been out. It's a relatively newcomer. The Smith & Wesson J Frames have dominated the market, but the Ruger LCR was a hit when it came out back in 2008. And it is essentially a polymer spin on the small frame stub-nose revolvers for self-defense. Of course, we're still hammerless. There's no hammer there. And you have a, what they call a non-stacking trigger, in which there's no staginess or no hesitation in terms of when the trigger pull is pulled. Like with the Smith & Wesson, you're fighting a coil spring, and you can definitely feel when that trigger is about to break. But this is just a constant, smooth double action. But what makes the Ruger set apart, of course, is that it has a polymer grip frame and trigger. You have an aluminum frame upper, and you have steel inserts for your barrel and your important works, like your cylinder. It's a very heavily fluted cylinder. Of course, 5-shot. All the important parts that need to be as tough as possible are still made out of steel, but you have an aluminum frame, and you have a polymer grip frame, grip housing. And that is the essential difference between the two. You have really the same fixed sights, although the Smith & Wesson J Frame does not usually come with a pinned on front sight. This particular one has just one that you can't deal with. It's totally fixed. There's no way you can push the pin out and switch out sights. But the Ruger LCR does come with a little pin sight, so you can knock it out and change out your sights. So that's something to take in mind. Again, you have your 5-shot cylinder. The cylinder releases on the side. You have to press in instead of push in Get the cylinder out. You have your short little ejector rod, 5-shot 38 special. And that's really about it, guys. Let's get to shooting. Alright, let's go ahead and give the accuracy a little bit of a shot. We have our Smith Wesson J Frame loaded up with the same 158 grain round nose lead ammunition. We have a torso target. We're moved up a little bit closer, a little bit closer, to 7 yards away, just to give myself a fighting chance. And a few excuses, so let's see what we can do. Was that 5 or 4? Caught me flinching. Put this one away. Let's get out the Ruger. And we'll shoot Ruger LCR on the head. See what we can do. I'll pull those a little bit right, but not too bad. Let's go have a look. Not too bad. We have our Ruger LCR. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was pulling a little bit right there, but the accuracy isn't too bad. As for the Smith & Wesson, I was aiming right there for the X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 through 1 hole there. So accuracy wise, I'm a little bit better with the Smith. But the Ruger is definitely not far behind. I would say that the accuracy between the two is really based more on the shooter. These guns, even though they have short barrels, they are still more accurate than you are. Alright, let's go ahead and step up a little bit to 30 special plus P ammunition. That's what most people these days are carrying when they're carrying small frame stub loads 38s. Just higher pressure 38 special ammunition. This is some Spear Gold dots. Again, 135 grain plus Ps. I have them loaded up in both guns. I'm going to go ahead and see how I can do here. See if I can also gauge the recoil. I'm already getting a little bit of a sting in the hand from both these guns. I think the Ruger stings a little bit more in terms of recoil, but let's go ahead and give it a go. I also have a couple speed loaders. I'm going to go ahead and just test out on both of these real quick. Just kind of a casual way. So, see what happens. Oh, cylinder's getting hot, guys. Let's go ahead and try a speed loader. It's a Fireland Comp 2. Well, Comp 1. Nope, won't get in. These Ruger LCR grips are way too bulbous and big. They fit your hand really nice. You can get a good commanding grip on it. But no, you can't really use speed loaders with these. You have to shim down the grips or replace them like I did with my Smith. But, alright, let's go ahead and just switch to the Smith and carry on. Miss. Dump your empties. This one's getting hot too, guys. Over the top with the speed loader. Press them in. Okay, let's go ahead and do right-handed. Miss. A little bit better right-handed. And you definitely want to make sure to give this speed loader a good bit of a whack, because these the short ejector rod isn't going to clear those cases on their own. So you need a little bit of force, especially with these plus Ps. The same thing with the LCR. You saw that in the introduction. Both these have short, low ejector rods. It's more of a fob and forget gun, but if you're going to do a speed reload, it's something to take into mind. You don't want to pull this out, just use your thumb for leverage. It might not be enough. So that's something to keep in mind. Well, overall, I think group-wise, probably a little bit better with the Smith. But in terms of hitting stuff, that Ruger LCR is probably a little bit better for me, I have to say. But there's more to it than that. Let's get back to the bench and I'll show you. Alright, we're back from the range with the Smith Wesson J Frame and the Ruger LCR. I just wanted to come to the bench to give you my final thoughts about which one might be better and which one may not. So here we go. Now in terms of overall accuracy, both guns are pretty much identical depending on what load you go for and what type of shooter you are. You'd be pretty hard pressed to find accuracy differences between the two guns, especially being at the small framed, small size, snub-nosed revolvers meant for a close range personal defense, but as you can see, these can hold pretty good groups. In terms of feel and function, the Ruger, I feel, being the slightly larger gun, definitely shoots a little bit easier for me. I have a little more control over the gun. I especially like the little hog tamer grip that comes on the gun. You get a full firing grip, and you have a little bit of rubber in between you and the backstrap of the gun, because both guns, even though the Smith is a little bit heavier, they tend to jump back quite a bit, even with standard pressure loads. So if you want a light recoil gun, the 38 snub nose might not be for you unless you go with some very light loads. But in any case, with a little bit of rubber in between you and the gun going off, well, that definitely helps. Whereas with the Smith, even with the standard rubber grips that come on the Smith, they have that exposed backstrap, and that tends to dig into your hand under recoil. So that's something to take into mind, and it is something to think about. Now, of course, both guns, like I said, accuracy-wise are pretty good, but I like that the Ruger has sights that you can actually do something about, whereas the Smith, you're basically stuck with them. But out of the box, they're both low profile. They tend to shoot where you want them to shoot, but they're a little hard to pick up. But in small guns like this, these work just fine. Now, continuing on the subject of shootability, both guns do recoil quite a bit, but I find that the Ruger actually recoils a little bit more than the Smith, even with standard pressure loads. But with that said, I think that the Ruger has a slightly better trigger than the Smith. With the Smith & Wesson revolver, we have a very short reset and a trigger pull that is kind of stagey in a way, because it starts out very heavy, it gets really light, and then there you go. So some people like to stage the trigger in which they know it's going to break. You let it out, and you can just hold it like that, and you can almost take a single action light trigger pull in a way. Whereas the Ruger, you have an 8-pound trigger. It's consistent throughout. It doesn't get any heavier or any lighter. It's just consistent throughout. But what I want to bring up to you guys, and something that some people don't talk about, is that the Ruger LCR and basically all of them that I've tried have what you might call a false reset. Now with the Smith, it has a very short trigger compared to the Ruger, and once you hear that click, the trigger is out and reset and ready to go. Whereas with the Ruger, you have the trigger pull, bang, there you go. But when you let off the trigger, you hear that click. Well, actually, what that just did was it advanced the cylinder, but it did not drop the hammer. It did not fire the gun. That's what you might call a false reset. I've had it happen with my previous Ruger LCR, which was in 22 Magnum, but I've noticed it more, the more that I shoot between the two guns. When I move from the Smith to the Ruger, I tend to have that happen, whereas I pull the trigger and I let it out thinking it's a short reset, or perhaps if you're a semi-auto shooter, you might hear that click, and then you might think, oh, the trigger's reset, we can go ahead and fire again, but you can't. You have to let the trigger all the way out and back again. So, with that said, that's something to keep in mind. Both guns are great, and I really enjoyed shooting both of these and bringing this little comparison to you guys. Let me know what you think. If there's anything I missed, put it down in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Both of these guns are great. It's been pleasurable to shoot them both side by side and to bring this to you. Anyway, this is James from All Outdoors, and I'll see you later.